Talk a little bit about Ole Miss and Middle Tennessee, and just, hey, full candor, right? We talked this morning about, like, hey, who do we talk about first? We talked about Mississippi State first last week. And Ole Miss is not playing games that matter right now. They didn't in their first 2 weeks. I mean, they matter if you lose them. But Ole Miss has played well. They have dominated two opponents that they were supposed to dominate. They are giving up an average of 1.5 points per game while averaging over 700 yards of offense per game. They have done what they are supposed to do.
And isn't that noteworthy, though, before we even go further? Because, yes, it's Middle Tennessee and Furman. And no, the way you play against Middle Tennessee and Furman does not tell you one way or the other that this team can win a championship, right? Like, we don't know what this team's ceiling yet is. But look around college football. Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois Saturday. Penn State was in a dogfight with Bowling Green for 4 quarters.
Yeah.
The score doesn't reflect it, but Alabama was in a dogfight with USF for 3.5 quarters. Oregon was in a dogfight with Idaho for 4 quarters, and then a week later we're in a dogfight with Boise State. When you, especially in games that it's probably hard to get 19 to 22-year-olds' attentions, they watch the film, they know how much better they are. But to get them to come out and execute immediately and play the way they do immediately, and for that to not really waver through 4 quarters of dominance is not nothing. It is significant. That is not the case for a lot of really good to great teams around college football, and they have managed to not only not let the games get weird, but immediately foot on throat, I am better than you, and I'm going to show you that for 4 quarters. There's been no drama. And that is significant.
I would agree with that. Absolutely would agree with that. Ole Miss leads the SEC in total yards, yards per game, passing yards per game. They are 4th, I think, in rushing yards per game. Yeah, you got Tennessee averaging 276 a game, Alabama 266, Arkansas 255, Ole Miss 250. And the Rebels are leading the SEC in scoring. Price of poker goes up just a touch this week. Ole Miss is a heavy favorite against Wake Forest on the road, but it's a Wake Forest team that has a quarterback that threw for 400 yards this past week, but lost. And didn't look great in their first game either, despite winning. So let's just walk through it quickly. Caden Davis kicks a field goal early to make it 3-0. Henry Parrish has the first of his 3 rushing touchdowns to make it 10-0.
4. Don't sell him short there, Cross.
I'm sorry, 4 of them. My apologies. Yeah. So Henry Parrish touchdown, Jaxson Dart rushing touchdown, Henry Parrish touchdown. Middle Tennessee kicks a field goal with 15 seconds left in the second quarter. And then Ole Miss scores 3 more touchdowns in the second half. Matt Jones, Henry Parrish, Juice Wells on a pass. 52-3 the final. A big day running the football for Henry Parrish. 14 carries, 165 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Rashad Amos had 2. Matt Jones had 11. Ulysses Bentley in the second half had 5 carries for 13 yards. Lane Kiffin didn't say a lot about Ulysses Bentley. He was asked after the game about it, and he didn't speak directly about Ulysses Bentley, but he instead praised Henry Parrish, saying that he had earned that opportunity and had practiced very well, and, he rushed for almost 12 yards a carry and 4 touchdowns. What's there to debate?
Right.
But the second running back was Matt Jones, who he said had earned an opportunity.
Sometimes 1 + 1 = 2.
It feels like they were trying to send a message to Ulysses Bentley.
It did.
I don't know exactly what the message is. You're not practicing hard enough. You're not giving enough effort. You don't care enough. I don't know. But the stat line that Henry Parrish Jr. had could have been Ulysses Bentley's stat line.
Could have. I had the same thought as you. Like at halftime, he has 92 yards on 7 carries or 96 yards on 7 carries. And everybody was like, where's Bentley? Where's Bentley? Where's Bentley? And I kind of just said on Twitter, I was like, why do you need to know where he is? I mean, look, you're averaging 12 yards a carry. What,
well, but the reason it matters,
I know, because
I know you do. I know you do. But I think we need to say this out loud because we need to reference the conversation that we had with Jim Nagy, who is the director of the Senior Bowl at SEC Media Days, when he said there were NFL GMs who had him graded higher than Quinshon Judkins and absolutely wanted to see him at the Senior Bowl last year because of his potential game-changing ability. That's what NFL teams think about him. So whatever it is that's going on, if you have a guy on your team that NFL GMs and scouts think has game-changing ability at the next level, you would like to get as much from him as you can. Now, hopefully, whatever it is that's going on gets figured out. If there was a message that needed to be sent, and Ulysses Bentley, whether it's this week against Wake Forest or in 2 weeks against Kentucky or, in 4 weeks against LSU, has one of those moments where he becomes a significant contributor. There's a lot of season left.
Oh, yeah. But you should love what you saw at Paris, though, especially in pass blocking. I mean, I don't think that
he was good.
He's not he's not the strongest guy in there, but willing to take that hit and protect a quarterback. And I think that you're going to see a lot more aggression from teams, because if you sit back and only rush 4 and let Jaxson Dart with Kiffin's scheme and those receivers pick you apart, you're stupid. I mean, you're going to see some DCs, I think, take some risks and try to get after the quarterback, because that might be the way that you can try to beat Ole Miss is don't let him throw the ball. Get to him before he can get the ball out, because you're not covering all of those receivers and tight ends with that scheme. There's no way. So having a willing pass blocker like that can really pay dividends there. I think we buried the lead a little bit, though. Walter Nolan's injury, which looked a lot worse than it ended up being. I thought it was torn knee. He's done. Because it was a non-contact thing. He grabbed at his leg right away, and it was like he slipped, and it was kind of funky. And
Lane Kiffin said afterward it was his decision, not Walter Nolan's, for him not to go back in the ballgame.
Yeah, he was running. So when he went the injury tent, I even texted a friend, and I said, that looked like he's done, which is a good thing I'm not a doctor. But, I mean, you guys have seen that injury play out before, where it's a non-contact deal, where like they step funny and they grab at their leg right away and something popped, and that was the end of his season. And then like they go to commercial and come back and he's running on the sidelines. I don't know how. He must be a superhuman. Turns out he's okay. Well, obviously a great thing, but man, it looked like it was something bad, and bullet dodged there.
All right, so what was the scarier moment for Ole Miss fans in the game? That or the blindside hit sack that Jaxson Dart took in the first quarter?
Ooh, he got smoked.
Hey, did you see that? Did you happen
I
to
did
be
not.
watching at that
Did not,
point?
I didn't think I watched more than a few minutes of this game.
It was an untouched defensive end. I don't know if the ball was supposed to come out fast, but Dart was kind of surveying the field. Never saw him, and like crumpled from behind. It was like, you would like to avoid those. Chris in Tupelo says, I am a doctor, and it looked like that kind of injury to me, too, LOL. Somebody answers the question, said the hit on Dart 100% was the bigger moment.
I appreciate Chris for the validation, though.
Yeah. Yeah, let's Lane Kiffin talked after about the game about not being entirely pleased with the secondary. Gave up too many yards. And I think that's a reasonable criticism. 2 quarterbacks combined to throw for 250 yards. Red zone defense for Ole Miss was really good. There were a couple of times where it looked like Middle Tennessee was about to stick it in the end zone. They weren't able to get in. They had the one field goal in the game. Ole Miss did what it was supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
TJ Daugherty, Trey Washington, Pooh Paul, all with 6 tackles to
Daugherty and Paul look like
lead the way.
a really good 1-2 punch at linebacker. They look really fast playing linebacker, both of them.
2 sacks, 9 tackles for loss, and you turn the page. Ole Miss heads to Wake Forest, playing an ACC team this coming Saturday on the CW.
To continue something you were talking about earlier with the secondary
Mm-hmm.
for Ole Miss, they didn't really pass the eye test on Saturday. The numbers tell you that they performed well, but there was a couple of times where couldn't get off the field or whatever the case may be. Wake Forest, there's a reason that Wake Forest is a 4-score underdog at home to this Ole Miss team. Ole Miss is significantly better than Wake Forest, but this is going to be a good test is a relative term, but we'll get a good look as long as that hurricane holds off at what this Ole Miss secondary is capable of. Because Wake Forest, through only 2 games, has a top 5 passing offense in college football. Bachmeier, who's in his 6th year playing quarterback at the college level, 4 years at Boise State, 1 at Louisiana Tech, now at Wake Forest, he's a good player. And Clawson's scheme is good. So they've got a good scheme. They've got better players than the teams that they've seen the last couple of weeks. Pretty good at quarterback. Clawson's a good coach. This will be a nice gauge of, okay, was this past Saturday, did the secondary give up some stuff because it was the third quarter of a game in which they were winning by 1 billion points? Or is there concern there? Because Wake Forest will, at periods of time, be able to exploit that. Now, I think Ole Miss is even better than 24 points, better than Wake Forest, and they should win this game probably comfortably again. But there is a challenge there. We will get a decent read on what the back end of Ole Miss's defense will be like, because Wake Forest is competent at every spot to exploit a possible weakness that they could have.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And it's good to see, right? I mean, I was talking to my kids this morning, and Obi was like, really excited for SEC games to get here, so they might be a little closer. I was like, I hear what you're saying, man, but blowout wins are comfortable. Trust me, I've been through the close wins and the close losses. I get what you're saying, but
we've been through the blowout losses, Richard. What are we talking about here? That
the
kid doesn't know anything.
Not being in question it's good for the mental health and maybe for the physical health as well. But no, I think everybody's ready for that. What can you learn? Now, look, Borky, if Ole Miss goes to Winston-Salem this weekend and they hold Wake Forest to 250 yards passing and
that's something.
Hang 40 or 50 on them or 40 plus on them and hold them to 17 points, 13 points, whatever.
That's something.
I think you walk away from that one going, okay, some of the things that I thought were real are now starting to feel really real.
Yeah, absolutely. The competition level has increased. Now, are they playing somebody that can beat them yet? No, but it's certainly a step up in competition, no doubt.
You remember, guys,